Well, thank you so much for staying with us. And also, thank you to Bull Country Compost for sponsoring our show. There's not a better product to amend your soil than Bull Country Compost. And if you need some great super soil, you don't want to have to be doing the mixing and everything. You want to just have the soil ready to go to plant in. Hayseed Hank Super Soil is a wonderful, wonderful product. We always have it in stock, and we also sell Bull Country Compost bulk and in the bag. So stop on by and get some of that. Check it out. You will be pleasantly surprised if you haven't used it in the past. So again, we want to remind everyone of our new hours, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. till 6 p.m., Saturdays, 8 to 4, closed on Sunday. If you do need something on Sunday, you can call and we can see if we can work it out. But we usually are closed on Sunday after the 4th of July. And so tomorrow will be after the 4th of July. So we are going to be closed. Cindy gets to actually go back to church and stay the whole service instead of leaving halfway through so she can go open the store. So I'm very, very thankful for that. But today we will be closing at 1 p.m. So that all of our team gets to spend some time. We've been open 7 days a week since the day after Easter. And so it'll be nice for everyone to get some time off and to spend with their loved ones as well. So we always do try to answer some questions that people have called in and asked. And I've talked about Barbara's questions in the past, and Barbara had some volunteers in her garden. She knew it was a viner, but she wasn't sure if it was a cucumber or a squash or a pumpkin. So actually she took some pictures and sent them to me. And in a photo, I have to say, I can tell the difference between a cucumber and a squash, but I can't tell the difference between all of the squashes. But if you aren't sure between a cucumber and a squash, one way to know if it's a cucumber or not is to actually smell the plant. You can tear off a leaf and smell the stem, and it is quite amazing, but they will smell like a cucumber. Also, you can break off a piece of root, and their root will smell like cucumber as well. So if you are wondering about that, you can tell between those two that way. But squashes are very, very difficult until you have flower and the squash starts to form. As soon as the squash starts to form, it's very easy to tell between like a summer squash and a zucchini, or between one of those and a butternut or an acorn squash. So it's easier then, but just from the leaf, I'm sure there are people that can do it, but I just happen to not be one of those people that can tell by that leaf. But that is a way that you can tell between cucumbers and squashes. If you do have volunteers, just be thankful for them. And many times they start to come up late because the tilling of the garden disturbed them. They didn't get, started in time. Sometimes they're going to be just fine and come to harvest, and you can really watch that compared to the size of the plants that you might have planted that were already started. If they're similar in size, you might be able to tell, oh, yep, these are going to come to harvest at this, very close to the same time that the other ones are that I planted, and then you can leave them. But if they are a lot later, you can always and this is getting a stressful time right now when we're getting into this heat. But earlier in the season, when you saw them first poking up, you can actually dig them up and put them in a container. And then that way, late in the season, if they are going to be calling for a frost or something like that, you can always, again, like we had said about the tomatoes and the peppers, plant them in a container and then bring them in if they are calling for that cold weather. So there's a couple ways that you can handle those volunteers that come up. But many of you, like cherry tomatoes, start by a volunteer a lot of times, and you will have them, but usually they're late in the season before they start producing for you. But if you do see a volunteer and you really want to make sure that you get a nice harvest off of it, digging it up at that time and putting in your container is always going to be really good for you. We did get the tools in for the kids. Several of you fell in love with the little Stanley tools for kids, the gardening tools that we had this spring. We did sell out and they were back ordered. They did come in. Actually, I think it was Thursday morning they came in. So if you were waiting for the children's tools, they are back in stock and they are absolutely adorable. They make a great gift, but it really is a great way to encourage your children to work with you in the garden when they're little. They have their own tools. They might rakes and shovels and hoes. They have their own little work gloves. So this is a great way to encourage children and grandchildren. But these are also going to make great, maybe Christmas gifts too. But these are great little gifts, and they are back in stock this week. If you were waiting for those, we actually did make some phone calls because some of you wanted us to call you when they came in. We had another question. This person had a lily. They had purchased the bulb and wasn't sure where they wanted it planted. So they planted it in a pot. It grew, it bloomed, and after blooming, they are wondering what to do with it now. So they don't want to put it in the ground because they are renting and they wanted to know what they should do with it while it's in the pot. So if you are in this position, maybe you are renting somewhere, you don't want to plant in the ground, and you are doing a lot of container gardening. If you have a lily or any perennial in a pot, when it is finished blooming, then some of them are going to bloom again if you deadhead, but like your lilies are not. Asiatic lilies are going to bloom one time and then they're going to be finished. So you can trim off the flower when what's left of the flower when it's done blooming, but you want to leave all of that green, the leaf and the stem, you want to leave all of that just like you would if it was planted in the ground, because that photosynthesis still has to take place and feed that bulb that's in there. Now, once all of that turns yellow and then brown, then you can clip it off just like if it was in the ground. But then at that time, you're going to just leave it outside, water it occasionally, maybe once every 3 weeks or so, because you want that bulb then at that time to start to go into its dormancy. Now, then before we get into really cold temperatures, and you're going to have to remind yourself if it's not in a spot that you see it all the time, that you're going to want to put it into the garage or maybe the basement. If your garage is not attached and it gets really cold in there, you might want to go ahead and put it in the basement in a cool spot and overwinter it that way. And then in the springtime, you can bring it back out. Now, the bulb is going to grow, so you might at that time need to transplant it into a larger pot, or you could also break it all up, break the soil off, and then you will see how your bulb has grown, and then you can take pieces off of it and put them in another pot, and then put your original bulb back into the same pot. So you can do that, but your bulb should grow over the winter time, probably not as much as if it was in the ground, but it will grow and get new little babies, bulbs off of the side that you'll be able to break off and start in a new pot. So if you are someone that is growing perennials or bulbs in a container, these are going to be a few tips to help you get through that so you can use that bulb again and again until you find maybe your forever home that you're going to purchase, and then you can get those into the ground. Now, we have had a lot of questions on fruit trees this week, and we've talked about orchard spray, and orchard spray is a great one to use if you are having any insect or disease issues. We do like you to start early in the season when you have these issues so that you don't run into real problems, but if you are at this stage and you didn't do your preventative sprays and you are in a situation right now where you need to curatively spray, the orchard spray or the all seasons oil is going to work for you very well. Now, not as good as if you were able to prevent everything completely, but it's going to still work. So you want to go ahead and get everything sprayed. a lot of fruit trees will have some fruit formation on them right now, especially if there's something that produces early, like Lodi apples. They're like covered in apples right now, those trees. But you can go ahead and spray to help control that. Now, the other question that we're getting with fruit trees is, can I still plant them? And definitely you can. I don't recommend planting them if you're getting ready to leave on a 2-week vacation. But yes, you can still plant your fruit trees, and then just make sure that you're watering them adequately when it's really, really hot. Also, planting in the evening or very early in the morning is going to be easier on the plant, and it's also going to be easier on you. So you might want to remember that planting late into the day. Don't plant at 2 in the afternoon when it's sweltering and you and the plant are going to be miserable. So, but you are going to have just wonderful results still planting in the summer as long as you water correctly. Now, we have had a couple other questions about people that are wanting to do some fertilization to their lawn. They did a pre-emergent in the spring, and now they want to do a lawn fertilization. But here we are in the heat of the summer, and they're not expecting any rain for a few days, so they're wondering what they can use. If you are using an organic fertilizer, you don't have to worry about that situation. So the Milorganite is going to be your application right now. Milorganite is a wonderful product for your lawns. Golf courses have been using it for years, not because it's organic, but because it's really good. So you can put down your Milorganite. A 36-pound bag is going to cover about 2,500 square feet, maybe a little bit more. But it's going to be a great, safe way to feed your lawn and not have to worry about any burn. Also, the Milorganite is good for a lot of other plants as well, and other uses exactly. So if you are one of those people that, hey, I'm going to buy Milorganite, but I want to use it on everything. This is a product that you can use on everything. You can sprinkle some on your annuals and your perennials, use it on your roses, even on your vegetables. It is an all-natural fertilizer. High in nitrogen, a nice slow-release nitrogen, so you are going to be able to keep things greened up. Actually, if we have something that lightens up in the greenhouse because of watering so much and nutrients leaching out, we'll sprinkle some Milorganite on it and get it green right back up. Within about 10 to 14 days, it'll green right back up. So Milorganite is a great fertilizer to use and safe. And also, a lot of people are using it as a deer repellent because it does have some odor that doesn't go away right away to the animals. To you, you'll smell it if in the bag. It's not going to be appealing, but it goes away very, very quickly. But to the animals, they smell it for quite some time, and they don't like it. So it is a good deer and rabbit repellent as well. Well, here we are at the end of another show. I want to thank you so much for being with me, spending some time on your 4th of July. Remember, all to be thankful for. What a wonderful country that we live in. And just thank God for that today. We just have so much to be thankful for. We'll be right back with you next Saturday, right here on The Light, 95.9.